And working on the intersection of sales and technology, Chris enjoys dabbling with no code, Python, and open source. Today, he is going to talk about simple automations for the peace of mind. Take it away, Chris.
Unmute myself. Okay, great. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks so much, Harshil. It's like I work in sales for a startup in payments. So right now we also have like quite an exciting times, which means a lot of growth pains, which are good ones to have. And we like try to use like N8N or automations and certain things that just make the overall life a little bit easier. These are mainly things that like remove like manual things that are easy to do. Like everybody can do this, but just like take away attention from the actual work you are doing. Take like 5 minutes, so it's not a big deal, but in the end it just sums up, and it's like things that can still require a lot of different small steps that have to be done in a super precise order. And I believe that when you have actually identified something like this, you must immediately automate it. So I have like one example here, and maybe I can share my screen. So here, and please let me know if you see the presentation as well.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. So talked about simple automations. The background, what we have done like in the past is there's a book that's quite popular. It's called Build to Sell. It's about like when you build like a company and you want to increase the value, it is better when everything is documented, everything is like actually running on clockwork, because when you have like a new owner, they actually have like a handbook and what they can follow it. So we started documenting a lot of the sales procedures we're having like in a pretty granular detail, whole onboarding flows of new customers, like everything in actually normal documents. So first, as a step, when, for example, somebody goes on vacation or somebody gets sick, that somebody can take over because they know in general what to do. And or also if you have like two people filling the same role, that there's not two flavors in the company, but like actually like a unified one. This is moved down to naming conventions of documents and also always all these other things, because you will identify like if things are missing, if things are not touched yet, easier when you have like consistency in folders, files, etc. We're like in fintech, so we have like also a lot of compliance documents, like things that need a like very like detailed view. So we have to pay like a lot of attention to process. This book describes it a little bit within, they call it SOPs and SODs. So the SOP is a standard operating procedure. Could be, for example, how do you issue an invoice? Yeah, what kind of steps actually need to be done? The way when you write down the process, it allows you to actually free up your brain, not needing to remember these things anymore. So what I usually do is also when I have like things that I know how to do because I actually created the whole thing, I still take the workflow and try to also improve it and reiterate over this. This sometimes these are things that I cannot automate. It's just like a step-by-step thing that where I can which I can go through. And because I do a lot of context switching and different things, I just come out of the sales call, you have a team meeting, I talk with like something else. When I then have like an hour of time or something to focus on some work, it's just nice to have like this guidance. So so it helps me like to stay on track and to actually get this like get better in the mode on working on this task. So the holy grail is, of course, when I can actually automate the whole process by technology. So when something is granular enough, or let's say is on a level where I can actually use tooling, then I would like to apply like a bit like a workflow with a tool like N8N so that I do not need to do the steps like manually. I can still survey them. So what we talked about right now, logging or the wait function, like I'm the wait node, I'm very excited about this, because I do have a lot of workflows where I do something and then I have to wait for external input before I can like move on. And some of these steps when I have the signal could also be something I can, let's say, that can then trigger like a next automation instead of me picking it up and doing actually manual work. So some of the workflows I'm building, they're like more complex. It doesn't always need to be like this. So you can also just have like very simple things that actually also like have like already like a big input. So for example, one thing that we use is when we register, when we receive like a new lead, it's just simple things like creating a Google Drive folder for the client, creating like an Airtable entry, and we have to also add the Airtable, the Google Drive link into the Airtable entry. So this is really simple. It's just like simple as that. But if I would count up the steps, I didn't do it. Yeah. If I count up actually the steps that I have to do, it's like opening Google, clicking, going to the right folder in Google Drive, clicking, creating the thing, putting the right name in there, going to Airtable, loading the right thing. There's something wrong with the browser. It just like takes a long. I'm actually occupied for still like 5 minutes to get all of this done in the right way, and I have to create we have like create like several folders, like etc., like just to follow like our process. So it's really simple work, but it just doesn't make sense because you have to be very focused on doing it, and the value add of doing this actually as a human is not really there. I still need it so the whole process can go on, but the it's just it sounds simple. It is simple. Everybody can do it, but I believe like no one should do it if we can actually do all these things like with automation. So one of the other things is also that when we get like a new lead, this is like we're not in control on this. When we get the email, the phone call, the WhatsApp message, the Telegram one, Skype, yes, sadly Skype. When we actually have our trigger to do this workflow, yeah. So it is very distributed. It can come by different channels. So and maybe I'm not in front of my desktop where I can actually do these tasks. Maybe I'm just on my phone. Now creating like these things on a phone, like going in Airtable, like doing all these things, not very effective. So we're maybe like in the middle of a meeting, we're just like running short on some stuff. Or like it's like all related, just like I say, okay, I'll do it tomorrow, create me like a Trello task to do this. Instead, what we created is actually like a / command in Slack. I am a big fan of chat ops in general. They're really great because we spend all our time in there. And I have my user interface with me on the phone. I have it like open on the desktop like the whole time. And it allows me to stay inside inside where I actually work instead of going now to open actually a browser. The other benefit of it is that because we use here the webhook to trigger it. Do I have my mouse? Sorry, you cannot see my mouse. Great. So we have like the webhook node, and it returns me actually the actually we don't use the webhook node, but like we also post then after the workflow has been triggered like a message with the data into Slack. So when we look at this workflow here, I have to create like 3 folders. They're like nested in each other. So I have to like, it saves me already like a lot of clicking. We use the set node to make it a little bit easier to write the right information from the previous nodes into Airtable. And then we post the response into Slack. / commands in Slack super easy to set up. So you can create an app and then on / commands, you can create like a new command. You can define it, give it like a name. You can give it like a little bit of a description. So when I'm inside Slack and actually start with /, I can have like some short documentation what I need to do. And from there, I can then just trigger the workflow, which just does all these simple steps. So we see this here. We have like register lead. I have created a format because I'm still a bit technical. So I have like the entity name, which is like the legal entity name. I have a semicolon. And after that, I have like a parameter that does already other stuff inside Airtable. given like these things. This already helps me a lot because I know the entry has been created. I know that all the manual things that are like very tedious have like done and sorted. And as a response, I get like a simple message back inside Slack, which links to me the Google Drive folder as well as the Airtable. So instead of going into Google Drive or into Airtable and entering all the stuff manually, all I have to do is now I click actually on the entry, and I can continue entering the information that that else I have, like about this lead, for example. Yeah. So this, of course, for me is like great, but it also has shown to be like very used by my assistants, like and other people who are not so technical. They really embrace the / commands as well. We use them for Trello task creation. We use it like for everything. And the nice thing is also that it resurfaces, like it makes the work also like visible. Yeah, so everybody's sort of in Slack in this way. This is like our operations channel. So it's always good to see that there we have like new leads, etc. So it's not, so we don't necessarily need to report like all of this, like what's been happening. Like people see, okay, we have like new stuff. And we like everybody's like sort of involved or updated on what is happening on this part of the business. Especially because we work like fully remote, or at least I do. This is like important for to keep like the information flow also going. And yeah, that's that part. One thing, how to get started. So building this whole thing took me like 2 hours from start to finish. I had to learn / commands in Slack, sorry. I had to figure out how to create like a user for Google Drive, like a, what's that called? Like a service account. And I spent most of the time figuring out why the authentication doesn't work. And I just want to point this out. So read the fantastic documentation line by line, like a proper SOP, like from N8N, from the N8N team, because there's like a bunch of funky stuff that is not so obvious if you don't read this. So I just want to point it out. This when you work with a private key, that's a like just follow what they say. Yeah, that actually concludes my presentation on this. Maybe I can go back. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. That was wonderful. And yep, we often don't realize that we need automation until we have all these processes documented somewhere. So thank you so much for giving us this small reminder.
Yeah, I also wanted to say that it's you can start with something that is as simple as that. I mean, there are like working with the APIs, the nodes N8N already creates. It's like very, how to say, like it's very useful just to start with something, an experiment. And especially like the webhook nodes combined with with Slack, and then returning like a response back there using a Slack node, like these little things are made super easy. I asked my like another engineer, like a real engineer, how long they would take like to build this workflow, and they quoted something from 1 to 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, this will never happen. Yeah. So it enables us a lot to do something here, and it's actually for the benefit of the people that don't get that much dev capacity, and just like makes work more enjoyable, and we can move faster.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So